And welcome back to episode... Honestly, we've been doing so many, I've lost count.
I don't know either.
And it's really good, babe. We're continuing doing our podcasts. So welcome back to episode...
Let's say 8.
Let's say 8 of the Business is Pleasure podcast with myself, John L.
Colette.
Oh, I'm sure they'll never forget your name with that beautiful face, babe. Don't worry. Don't worry about introducing yourself anymore, right? Okay. They know you.
Okay,
They
cool.
know you, alright?
I was never worried, but okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay, so one of the major things that I think is really important about every aspect of our podcast, how was your week?
My week was good.
Okay.
I did get the majority of things that I wanted to get accomplished for the week.
Mm-hmm.
When I say that, I simply just mean our posting.
Yep.
I got all that done. That was pretty much it that I had to get accomplished for the week, to be honest. So, yeah, I had a good week.
Nice.
What about yourself?
For me, I think my week was good. Again, we've just been focused on being consistent, which of course, for the most part, I was. So I had to do a lot of posting. We finally finalized what we want to do for the website. Mm-hmm. So I had to create a spreadsheet with over 100 of products. And I was able to do that in under 3 hours.
How long did it take you?
Under 3 hours.
But how long did it take you?
Under 3 hours.
But it took you a long time, no?
Honestly, it was longer than I expected.
Exactly.
It was a bit longer than I expected.
So let me give you a little bit of a backstory. So when we were doing the...
She's sour, guys, if you haven't known. She's a little sour.
Yeah, I'm a little bit sour because you need to understand how long it takes to do certain things. So when you do now, don't you though?
You're gonna learn today.
Yeah. So when we were doing the last website, I did essentially what you did.
Yeah.
And I did the descriptions, the size, the category for all of our inventory. And it literally, I felt like it took me 6 hours. I felt like it took literally forever. Obviously I took breaks, but it just took a really long time. And then, the other day you were like, can you do it? And I was like, yeah, I can do it. It's just going to take me a long time. And you were like, oh, don't worry. I'll do it. I'll get it done so much
just
faster.
Like that, eh? I did it. I cut it time in half. I did do it so much faster. You're right.
I said it felt like 6 hours. I didn't say it took me 6 hours.
Okay.
It felt like 6 hours. You said, I'll get it done so much faster. And you're there huffing and puffing I see you take a break, walk away, come back to it. You realize you missed 4 pictures, come back to it.
Yeah, because what it is, though, it's not hard. It's just really tedious because you constantly have to go back and forth between what we post on the websites and the apps and just to make sure that you have everything is unified. So, it wasn't hard, but it kind of made me understand just, the small things that really need to go into place to have, a website that really looks good and, half decent. So, yeah, we're able to talk to our developer, and he's going to do an amazing job just throwing all those online for us. And then that's one task that we kind of realized, we're not going to do this anymore because, yeah, we know how to do it, but for us to, constantly do this every single time, it's going to take away a lot of time that we can, put into something else.
Yeah, and, I think one of the things that we were really focused on when we first started our business was, how can we save money and, how can we kind of, learn to do 99.9% of things on our own. But we're getting to the point now where it's we can afford to invest some money into something else that we're not necessarily experts in, so we can become experts in the other things of our business that are more important and more and require our attention more so. You know?
And reallocating those small tasks, that's going to free up a lot of time for us so we can really focus on the more important things in our business, right?
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, money's coming in right now. So, we can put a little money, we can invest a little money into certain things that, again, save us on time and everything, So it's nice. I think it's good because when we initially started our business, we had this idea that, hey, we need a business account.
Yeah.
We need all these apps that are automated. And what that really does, it does free up a lot of your time with having little things like that, but it takes a lot of your bottom dollar, especially when we just started out and we weren't really making that much sales and generating any revenue.
And I'm actually I'm upset with TV now I think about it. I'm upset.
Yeah.
You guys could have been hey, because I remember the guy, we had a financial advisor.
We were legit.
That was sitting down with us oh, how much
transactions?
How many
you guys think
transactions
we do
do
in a
you
month?
need? And we're like, we have 0 right now, so I don't know how we can gauge that. But
yeah, so he's like, okay, it's fine. Just take the $40 a month account.
Yeah, it's like, come on, man. Like we're starting out here. We're both broke. Like we're both like trying to like make the best of like our business, trying to get it off the ground. And you're giving us this $40 a month account that we can't even afford right now. Like obviously we should have thought of that for ourselves, but I don't know. I just want to blame someone. So.
It's okay, and it's a good learning experience because realistically, we did that for maybe like 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
Then we realized, hold on, we could just have a checking account. That's our business account.
From any bank.
That is a free account with no monthly fees or anything, right?
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I really liked. What we're able to do, we're able to realize like, hey, we need to save money. Because one major part about business is not always making money, but how you can cut down on costs.
Yeah.
And then also, we also had Hootsuite. Hootsuite, I think it was.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, Hootsuite. It's like this app that automates all your postings and everything, which again is really useful. But when we're starting out with our business, it's more important that we're actually practitioners and actually trying to engage with our community, because that will really allow us to understand the community, engage with them, and really just give value back to them, you know. But when everything's just autonomous, and it's just like, oh, here it is.
It doesn't come.
It's not genuine.
And it doesn't come across as being authentic either. And that's one of the most important things about having a business, is just being authentic and being real, and like having something that people can connect with. Because if people can't really connect with you, then they don't want to really be around you. They don't want to mess with you. They don't want to hear about your business. They don't really care, essentially, you know. So I think that's so important.
No, 100%, man, 100%. One thing I really want to focus on, or like talk about, we spoke about it briefly last week, is how that we can improve our personal social media accounts.
Yeah.
So they can represent us.
Yeah.
I had messaged this lady on Facebook because she was going around giving like free photos and everything.
Yeah.
And again, this goes back about cutting into costs. So
I'll take anything for free. We will take anything for free.
Especially if it's good work too, right? I saw some of her pictures. It was pretty good. But I sent her an initial message and she didn't get back to us as yet. So we'll see what's going on.
What did you say though?
I was like, hey, is this service still available?
Okay.
Yeah, so
I guess she's like not super eager to like give out free stuff.
Yeah, like, she was like, yeah, I'm trying to build my portfolio.
And there's probably like,
I'll help you build still. Yeah. I'll help you build.
I'm sure there's probably like tens of thousands, not thousands, but like many people that probably messaged her and been like, oh, can you do my like wedding photos or like something like that? So
yeah,
who knows? Maybe we'll just wait it out and see.
Yeah, because like in her advertisement she talked about working with couples. I was like, hold on. Me and Khaled are a couple of people. We're in a relationship. We're a couple. So I was like, yo, let's make this work. But
is all the criteria required? Sure.
You know, but I guess we didn't qualify. But
we'll see. There's still time.
Yeah, we'll play it by ear. Yeah. So yeah, I really want to sit down and focus on how we can really give content for our personal page.
Yeah.
Not like we said, we don't necessarily want it to be business oriented. Yeah. Maybe like little tidbits of here and there of it.
Yeah.
But like just be genuine with like our family and friends, because that's generally what our Facebook and IGs are, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think the one thing that I want to force myself to do is to take one picture a day. That's my goal. To take one picture a day. It's gonna be a little bit easier now since I got my new do.
Ooh. Okay. Looking like a snack.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a little bit easier now. So I'm just gonna take one picture a day. That doesn't have to be of me, but maybe what I'm doing. Or which is just like usually this.
Yeah, but like so just creating that stockpile of content,
like,
you know.
And like also we're going on vacation soon, so like I'll have pictures from that, and then I can just like piece those in every here and there to make my Instagram look
booming.
Yeah, so that's my plan.
Which is really good, especially with being business and personal. You have to find like the perfect line and combining those two. And I know we were speaking, and you said like as a woman, sometimes you feel as if in business you're maybe treated a bit differently than I am. Yes. Take your time. What do you mean? What do you mean? What's going on, babe?
So it's not hard, but it's just like a little bit frustrating. Okay. I just find it really frustrating just because like I do just as much for this business as you do. But for whatever reason, whenever we're like in social settings or whenever we're at an event or anything really, when anyone ever asks about the business, they immediately like they'll look at me, like they'll acknowledge that I'm standing there, but they'll immediately go to you and be like, hey man, what's this business about?
Hey babe, you have to understand my presence though, man.
But
if it's not you, man, it's just my
like,
presence.
no. See, like, you make it worse by making a joke.
I'm just joking.
You make it worse.
I'm just joking.
Because, like, it actually... I'm not saying it affects me, but it definitely bothers me because it happens every single time. And then, like, I'll be standing there, and then they'll be like, oh, like, do you work here? Or, like, are you helping out with him? Or, are you his, like, assistant or something? And I'm like, no, like, this is my business, too. I'm the co-owner of this. And they're like, oh, okay. And then they're all like, whatever. But it's like, why is it...
Their initial reaction
is always that I'm helping you, or I'm your assistant, or I'm, like, just, like, some random girl that's, like, folding clothing for you. And it's like, why can't I be the lead? Why can't you be... Why isn't there the assumption that you're helping me?
Yeah.
You know, every time.
I think one of the reasons is, I'm not trying to, like, make excuses for anyone, but I'm just trying to be like devil's advocate, is because, like, our product is generally tailored towards men. So once people look at the product, maybe they have that assumption that, oh, this is a men's clothing thing, and even though she's here, maybe it's his business just based off of the product.
Okay, that may be fair, but also, to be devil's advocate, there are also circumstances where, like, I'll be around people that I've, like, explicitly said, like, yeah, we're co-owners, I'm, you know, a 50% business partner, as is Jonelle, and there'll be situations where we're talking as a group, and, like, I am excluded from certain things. Just, like, through conversation, like, it'll be like, yeah, like, me and you can meet up and we'll talk about this, but it's like, so why can't it be us? Like, we all will meet up and talk about this, you know what I mean?
100%.
And it's like, I'm standing right there. So it's like, that, your argument doesn't necessarily apply in those types of settings, which do happen on occasion, because, like, they know it's in men's clothing, predominantly clothing, but yet they still are assuming that I'm not a business partner, even though
definitely.
I
and I think, like, I think also with what you're saying, I also have to take some of the blame as well, because sometimes I'm not as, like, straight up to be like, oh yeah, by the way, this is also my business partner, Colette, right? A lot of times, like, I'll take over the conversation. I'm more so focused on, like, oh yeah, like, where can I meet up with this guy? Like, can we figure out how to bring value to them? But in reality, in the back of my mind, I'm all like, how can Colette and I figure something out? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm sure that also comes into play as well too, right?
Or maybe myself as well. Like, maybe I'm just a little bit passive sometimes in some settings and not as, like, dominant. So that's also something that I can work on too.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it's one thing. It's probably, like, a multifaceted thing, right? Where it's like, maybe it's 10% Jonelle, 50% the people, 10% you, and then of course there are gonna be other factors that come into play as well.
Or just their, like, perceptions of, like, maybe the fact
like
that
women in the workplace.
Yeah, like, just,
you know,
they're, like, old time perceptions. I don't know.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it's something that does bother me.
But I feel like you always handle it so well though, because, like, we've had this conversation before, and you say sometimes, like, use it as a motivating factor.
Yeah.
To be like, yeah, like, now I have to not necessarily prove myself, but continue working hard so the company's represented in a positive light, right?
Yeah,
and
no, I definitely, like, it's not that a sense that it bothers me to the point where it's making me, like, super angry and upset, but it's just, like, it bothers me in the sense of, it's that I feel like I am doing that. I am working towards that, where I feel like me being, you know, seen as, like, an equal in, like, business types of settings, it doesn't necessarily, like, pan out as much as I would like it to. So, like, I don't know, that's my only thing, but I don't know, I guess it's just a work in progress.
No, 100%, right? And it's like what we said about our own business. This business has really taught us about trial and error, right?
Yeah.
And so if we're constantly realizing that, like, the conversations aren't necessarily working in both of our favors, how can we change that dynamic up so it's like we both feel like we're representing the company properly, and people understand that, like, hey, like, she's doing just as much as he's doing, or whatever, you know? Because the worst thing I would want to happen is that, like, where this does start affecting us, and maybe, like, maybe I am part of the reason why you're not, like, being represented properly, and I think, like, hold it back, you know?
I think, like, in some settings you are, like, when you said, like, sometimes you'll just, like, get quickly into conversation, but then you won't necessarily be like, yeah, this is my business partner as well. But then but then there's also some occasions where, like, I don't really expect you to do that. Like, I don't expect you, like, every customer that walks up, you'll be like, hey, like, you're interested in this shirt? Oh, random point. Like, this is my business. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't necessarily apply. But like when it's like a business to business type of working relationship, and you've been in conversation with someone for like 5-10 minutes, and you still have not let them know that, like, yeah, this is my business partner. Like, because it's hard for me to interject in those types of settings and be like, oh, by the way, sorry to interrupt whatever you're talking about that I'm trying to like listen to over the corner, but like I'm a business partner too. You know what I mean?
No, 100%.
And that just seems like I'm being like pushy, which is not how I want to come across either.
No, 100%. And like, again, we're constantly gonna be working on it, and we have to. But one thing I think we should also try to be working on is like, how can we revisit our business plan and find a way to like really fine tune it? Because some things that we wanted to accomplish in 5 years, we accomplished the first year, and some things that we were supposed to accomplish the first year, we still haven't got to those things as yet, right? Because I think now we're better to start to understand the best way that we can bring value to people, and the way our business is being run, it's kind of being reformed as we're working at it, right? Because now we're starting to realize, like, we really like the whole sourcing aspect, and aside from all the success we've had in a B2C, we're now entering into like the B2B realm as well too, right?
Yeah.
And like, when you think about it, we never really had that in our business plan.
No,
right?
or even really considered it, So I definitely think that's something that we can do kind of a little bit on our downtime, because it's not something that's like super like time sensitive.
Yeah.
So I think that should be one of our list of things to do when we're on vacation.
Oh yeah, 100%. Because especially when we're on vacation, we're gonna have a lot of downtime. But so I really want to take time to break down the business, and then really like reconstruct it.
Yeah.
And say like, okay, like, yeah, we're doing this really good. Like, how can we fix this? Like, oh crap, like we've totally pushed this part aside. Like, let's bring that back up, you know?
Yeah.
And I think like right now, we've mainly been focusing on like the finances of the business, because that's what's becoming so like good for us.
Speaking of finances, I actually had a question for you. So in the week, we were working with our our website developer, and he offered to do the work for free.
Yes.
He offered to do the work for free.
Okay.
And you said no. I'm not like necessarily super surprised that you said no. But I just want to know, like, what's your reasoning? Like, why did you say no? Because I feel like if that was like 2 years ago, when we were like, you know, still in the early parts of our business, we would have been like, yeah, 100%. I'll like, please do it for free.
Yeah. For me, one reason why I said that was because like, I don't ever want to feel as if like I'm taking advantage of someone, especially when he was actually been there helping us so much, you know, and he does great quality work. So my whole thing is like, I want to reimburse him for the time he's putting in. And two, once there's consideration, so he's doing something and I'm supplying money, now there's a contract. So there's no BS about like, hey, like, I'm doing this out of the kindness of my heart. So if we don't like something, now we can regulate it and be like, hey, sorry, by the way, like, we paid us the money. Maybe it's not as much as Jenny that you would like, but you can't bring that to me.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like, I kind of felt the same way, because we were going back to him for a lot of different updates. And like, I was wondering like, okay, at some point he's gonna want to bring up the conversation of like, okay, I need to get paid for like some of this stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
And I did feel like guilty at times. Like, every so often I'd check in and be like, hey, like, what would it cost you to add this or add that? I would always ask him, and he would always say nothing. But in the back of my mind, like in my gut, like, it didn't feel right taking like services from another business and not like paying for it.
Yeah, 100%. And that's my whole thing too, is right. And honestly, it kind of goes back to my personality as well. Like, I don't want no one to be like, oh, you owe me something now. Yeah. You know what I mean? So from the jump, I just want it to be like, hey, like, let's have an agreement where we understand the terms of it, and let's just take it from there, you know? Yeah. And again, it's like, you can only ask someone for something so much until they're like, okay, like, no, this is too much.
Yeah, exactly. You know until like, you can only like take so much until they're like, okay, it's like overstaying your welcome. It's like, like when someone invites you over to your house and you're there a week later and they're like, seriously, like, you don't have common sense to know that it's been time to go. So like, that's kind of like the same thing I was kind of trying to figure out. Like, I knew we were kind of on the same page, but I know we didn't really talk about it. Yeah. But yeah,
we're connected, man. We don't gotta talk about it.
I know, that is very true.
And our personalities are like really similar, and I think that's why our business is starting to like run so much smoother now, because we're starting to intertwine like the good aspects of your personality and my personality, put it into the business, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's really important as well.
Yeah.
And also just the way we treat people, right? Like this industry is so small. The last thing I want to hear is that like, well, those guys from Clarendon Co, you know, like they're really cheap. They're all trying to get work for free.
Of course.
Because I see it myself.
Yeah,
I see it myself with like my friends when they're doing their own
Even though
thing.
we just said we wanted to. we like, if you offer us something for free,
yeah,
of course.
I love offering.
My hands are tied.
I love offering.
I will take it, but
Free?
I'm not gonna ask you to do something for free, unless it's like a win-win type of like I scratch your back, you scratch my back.
But
then
like, that's not even free.
That's not even free.
You
That's
guys
like
are giving off resources.
That's an exchange of resources.
Exactly.
That's completely different. But yeah, no.
No. This isn't like life isn't a charity. Like I'll pay my local X amount an hour.
Gotta pay your dues.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So we also had I guess essentially our first event this week.
Yes. So one of my good friends, he's like an up and coming artist in Toronto. If you guys get a chance, check him out. His name is Ty Sinaj. Really creative, really eclectic guy. And he had this idea where he wanted an event that represented something really futuristic. So to complement the event, he wanted really curated pieces that represent his demographic and the event within itself. So he had come over to our place, taking a look at the inventory, and we had about 50 different pieces that we can choose from.
Yeah.
And I personally thought it was a really good event. It was the first one of the year, but it kind of reinvigorated me by going to events because I forgot like how much I actually enjoy talking to people about business.
Yeah, and it's
talking
hard.
about our business and things like that, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's hard like when you've been like kind of like out of the swing for a little bit because we've been selling a lot, but we haven't had an event since December.
Yeah, just before Christmas, right?
Yeah, just before Christmas. So like for me to like get back into like talking to people, like at first I was kind of like, this is a Toronto party. People are like all like stush and like in their own ways and like people, I don't know, like in general from like Toronto, I like get just a sense of like disengagement. Like people don't necessarily like love talking to other people for the most part, because I know like I don't for the most part. But like, but you know, so I was kind of like, no, like it's Toronto, like no one's gonna really want to talk to me. If they want to look through the racks, like I'd be like, oh, feel free to look through the racks. But like, I'm not gonna really engage anyone. But people were like super receptive. They were like, hey, like what is this? What is this about? Like tell me something. Like they were just very, and it's like I think it's really important in business to feed off of people and like give what they're giving and match like their wavelength, match their personality a little bit.
But it's funny that you say feed off of people because I remember me initially, I was like I felt my energy was just low, like, you know, going to the event. I was excited about it, but I was like, ugh, whatever, it's just another event, you know what I mean? But then when I saw you just be like, hey, have you guys heard about the Clarendon Trading Company? That like ignited me right away because I was like, oh man, like God's doing it, like, you know, let me go out and do my part now as well too. That's like just talking to people, engaging them and everything too, right? And it's nice too because even from that party we're able to make like 4 brand new connections. That's hopefully gonna lead us to like something positive, you know. And if not,
we're just another face that we know now.
Exactly, right? People know the company. We sold a really good amount of products.
Gave out a lot of cards, got a couple more Instagram followers.
Exactly, like, you know, I'm creating some content as well too, right?
Yeah.
So overall, like, I personally thought it was a success.
It was a great success. It was a huge success. And it also, like, got us back into the swing of things because we have another event coming up this weekend in Montreal. So, right? So, like, I think it was, like, a good type of, like, practice run because that event's going to be a lot bigger. But it was a good practice run to kind of get us, like, in the swing of, like, getting comfortable talking to people, getting comfortable, like, just, like...
Talking about our product and our company one more time, right?
Exactly, and, like, articulating, like, what we do. You know what I mean? So, I'm excited.
No, 100%. And the thing that made me think, I'm actually just thinking about this now, like, maybe we should get in touch with, like, different artists within the city and curate like a merch for them or whatever, you know what I mean? Because clearly that's what the demographic is. Like his demographic was really similar to ours. So we can like feed into other people's demographics, bring them value, because now it's bringing like the whole experiential shopping for customers, right? It's like they're going to a concert, plus they can get sick clothing as well, so it's like it's a win-win, right?
Everyone loves a good experience.
Yeah, 100%.
Like especially nowadays, like there's so many things like in the city that's like competing for your attention and competing for your money, you know? So like if you can find a way to create like a really cool experience for for people to kind of like, you know, take time of their day out of their day to specifically go to that over something else, I think that's really important. The hard part is like figuring out how to do that. The hard part is like figuring out like what are people interested in, what do people want to see. I think like Tyler and his whole like people behind him, they did a really good job at like kind of like figuring out like what people like. So everyone likes music, everyone likes clothing, fashion, to a certain extent. They have a little like snack
especially
bar.
His demographic too, right?
Yeah, they had a little snack bar set up, a little photo booth. Like I think it was a really good like step in the right direction for like creating a cool like experience for people. And it was at like this really cool like virtual reality lounge.
In Toronto,
yeah. So like it was a really like interesting concept. It was really on trend. It was really like new and different. Like it wasn't something that like everybody does, which is really big in Toronto. Like people really like doing things that like nobody else has really done before, which is like anywhere really, I would think. But yeah, I think it was a great event and it was a good little like start for us.
And even for us too, right? It gave us an opportunity to like look at our old selling techniques. So we saw like how we're talking to people and how we're engaging with people.
Yeah.
And one guy that I really sat down with, really young guy, but he was really insightful. And I love that, you know. I try to stay away from looking at people's age and really more so focus on their mindset. And he said one thing that he really liked about us, we weren't selling him clothes. We were having a dialogue that he was able to resonate with. And I think that's important too, right?
Yeah.
Understanding your audience and understanding that like, hey, some people just want to, hey, there's a shirt, go get it.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're our I don't want to say selling tactics, but that's essentially what they are. Our selling tactics, like they change for like each event. So when we were in New York, at first we were trying to.
Oh my gosh! Remember I lost my voice in New York.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
You did. When we were in New York, we were trying to use like the Toronto way of doing things,
and it
right?
Didn't work.
Like oh, how are you today? With like little small chit chat, and
then like, nah, son, we got 2 for 20, or 1 for 5. Let's go, son.
Yeah. New York is like straight to the point. Show them the product. Tell them the price. Just straight up, straight down, like.
And if it gas them, it'd be like, yeah, son, this is gonna look sick with you, son.
Yeah, like if they want it, they don't. On to the next. Like there's no room for hey, how are you? People don't want to hear that. I say hey, how are you? They're already like down the hallway.
Like anyways, like
yeah, they just don't care. Not rude, just very like straight and to the point.
Yeah.
In Toronto, it's obviously a little bit different. Even in like Ottawa and stuff, it was a little bit different. People were really more into like conversation, like talking. I feel like in Montreal, it's gonna be similar to the conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Because people in Montreal are very like
laissez-faire.
Oh, they're very like engaging. They like conversation. Honestly, these are like major generalizations, so like don't take any offense. It's just what I've
from
seen,
what we know, from our perception.
From what I've noticed, I've been to Montreal a few times. Shout out to Fabergé.
Yeah.
But so this is just from what like I've noticed that people in Montreal, they like to like conversate, they like to talk. So I think it's gonna be a really good event because I think that our personalities kind of cater more towards more of like conversational as opposed to being super aggressive because we're both not like super aggressive people. But yeah, I'm excited. I think it's going to be a really good event. I'm really excited because we get the opportunity to like be in a demographic that is really interested in both like our vintage stuff as well as like our contemporary and like off-white stuff. So I'm excited because a lot of the times we go to events and it's like just vintage stuff, you know? And like we've actually never really been to an event where we've had our
both of them,
stuff.
Well, Tyler's event, but like
but like a bigger event.
Definitely, and I'm really excited because we already have people messaging it up on Instagram saying like, hey, are you guys gonna be at sneak peek? And we're like, yeah. He's like, oh well, could you guys reserve some pieces for me? Yeah. So it's clear that that's what the demographic wants too, right?
There's a demand for it, and we have what they want, so that's always exciting, right?
Exactly, and I think that's one of the most important things. Like, give the people what they want.
Yeah.
Don't make it romantic. Don't make it emotional. Talk to them, figure it out, and deliver.
And I think with this event, it's kind of it's gonna be good for us because now we've done kind of like 3 sneaker type events. Yeah. 3 sneaker type events right now. So we know kind of like what people are looking for. We know the demographic. We know the type of stuff that they're interested in. They like that vintage, but they also like, the newer stuff, the Off-Whites, the Supremes, and then they also like kind of like the vintage 90s stuff that's like NASCAR and like those types of things. Yeah. So I think like we have a really good collection that we kind of curated for this event. So I'm really excited to see how it does.
No, 100%. And it's crazy too, right? And then we're going to be switching to a demographic that's older,
Yeah.
classic,
Yeah.
and really more so in tune with the contemporary styles too, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of the off-white stuff, a lot of the trendy, maybe like Nike really bright pieces, those would have
May
to stay
not
back.
work there, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm really starting to like, is that like we're listening to our audience.
Mm-hmm.
We're understanding like, hey, yeah, we have these type of pieces, but maybe we only need 100. We don't need to bring all 300. We don't need to bring all
Yeah.
500. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I think that's really important as well, is like understanding what your market wants.
Mm-hmm.
And the one reason why we're able to do that, one, of course, through trial and error,
Yeah.
and two, the constant motion of trying different events, doing different things, and realizing like, this is not really working. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Maybe we should just change this up a bit.
Yeah. But the one thing that I will say, because I remember the last time that we were at the Toronto Vintage Clothing Show, I did notice that there were a lot of like younger people there.
Yeah, yeah.
So
yeah.
I think that our assumption that like they may be
Mhm.
more so interested in like the older type of vintage stuff may not be the case.
Yes.
So I do want to bring some of the newer stuff.
No, 100%. 100%. We'll have like some in the back.
Yeah,
hey,
like,
by the way.
hey, are you interested in this? You know what I mean? Just to like show it up there, just in case they want it. Like only by request only, request only stuff. But yeah, I think like overall we're getting a better idea of like curating specifically for our events and like working with our demographic essentially. So I think it's good.
No, definitely. And the one thing I realized about the Toronto Vintage Clothing Show is that they actually started doing a lot of ads on Instagram.
Yeah.
So nowadays it's like they're marketing in 2018, because before was they would give out flyers, do a bunch of newspaper ads, which has a potential to work, but nowadays a large portion of the audience is based online.
But I think it's also the market too. Like the market for vintage clothing has changed completely, at least from like my perception of it. Like I think like when people were thinking before, when people were like, oh yeah, I'm into vintage clothing, it was more so like, yeah, like I like that like 1930s, 1920s, 1940s and 50s type of stuff, which is what like predominantly like the Toronto Vintage Clothing Show is. But nowadays I think there's a lot more younger people and people like our age that are into the vintage clothing. So like vintage isn't just like the 1930s, 40s, 50s. It's like the like early 90s, like
And 80s.
even
Yeah,
like early 2000s is like somewhat considered vintage to some
Yeah,
people.
to some people, right?
You know what I mean? So I think like because like the what vintage means is changing.
Yeah,
The
because
demogra-
it's based off like, let's say like 30 years, right?
Yeah.
Where before, if it's like the year 2000 and you have something from 1995, that's only 5 years.
Yeah.
Now it's 2018, so it's like
Exactly. So because like what the word vintage means is changing, the demographics also changing. So it only makes sense that the way that they're targeting those groups are changing. So
No,
like
100%.
before, it may have made sense for them to use like flyers and newspaper ads because it was all like people in their like 40s and 50s that were going to these events.
Yeah.
Now it's like I'm not reading a news. I can't remember the last time my fingers have flipped a page of a newspaper.
You know?
I cannot remember the last time. Maybe when I was like.
Swipe.
Maybe when I was like 12 years old. That was probably the last time, you know? And I can't remember the last time I was like, well, let me take this flyer and keep it in my pocket and save it for this actual event, you know? Everything's either on Facebook or Instagram where you get like the majority of your information from. So I think like it only makes sense that their tactic has changed, and I think that will only be a benefit for like us and everyone else.
Yeah,
who's gonna be
100%.
there.
But also, we also have to help them by doing advertising as well too, right?
Yeah, of
When they
course.
send us all those materials, we have to ensure that we're doing our part. You know, even if like 40 extra people come based off of our name, like that doesn't only help us, it helps the vintage community, and also it helps for another better event and everything,
Yeah.
you know?
So I think overall for this week, the main things that I want to focus on is revisiting the business plan. Well, that's for our
Trip. But
our
we'll
trip.
write it down so
But
we know
we'll-
when to do it. And everything.
exactly. And then I'm gonna get together. Well, we're both gonna get together tonight. All the items to send to our web developer.
Okay, yeah.
So. All of the picture descriptions are done, but I just have to organize like a few articles that we're gonna post to the blog, pick some pictures, and make a title for them
Okay,
all.
cool.
And then building personal Instagrams. That's yours is already working.
Yeah, that's an ongoing process, right?
Yeah,
So-
it's gonna be ongoing, but I'm gonna start this week taking one picture every day, and then yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, perfect. So is there anything in particular that you want to do this week? Or
Not
just to focus
necessarily.
on?
I was just kind of just in general wanting to organize everything for Montreal, which
Okay.
everything's already set up. Like the Airbnb's already contacted her, messaged her, and make sure that.
So how is that? That's all good? to
Yeah, she was like, yeah, because I told her that we're gonna check in after the event, and she was like, yeah, no problem. I have her number, so everything's fine. And then yeah, that's pretty much it. We checked the check-in time for sneak peek, which is 10 a.m. or
Yeah.
sorry, 8 a.m.
Yeah, they said we can be there as early as 8 a.m.
8 a.m.
But I think we're going to be leaving Toronto, or let's say 5.
Yeah.
It's about 4.5 hours. We'll be there for about 9:30.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
They said that they recommend people coming before 10:30 just so
Yeah.
you have
Enough
a bit of
time and
time
everything,
for
yeah.
like people to come in or whatever, which I'm sure we will. We'll be fine.
Yeah. And like we're experts at setting up and breaking down now.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't take us more than an hour.
Yeah, it's like a dance for us.
Yeah.
Like,
It's like, ooh.
we both know our role.
Twerk it. Twerk it.
I don't know about that, but we both know our role.
You're thinking about the waltz. I'm here thinking
Yeah,
about
I'm thinking
like,
about like a tango or something.
Cha-cha.
Okay. But yeah, anything that you'd like to add?
For the most part, no. Let's just continue doing what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
We have a long journey to go because like the thing about our business is like there is no timeline. There's no expiration date. So all we have to do is be consistent and be innovative. You know, whatever we see that's new, let's try it out. And like I said, trial and error. That's my favorite thing. Just trial and error.
Yeah, for
Just
sure.
keep doing it. Okay, so I think that's about it for everything for this week, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us again for episode we don't know, and
7 or 8.
yeah, 7 or 8, somewhere around there, right? And please don't forget, like and share so we know that you care. Until next time,
Always rhyming.
because it's perfect timing.
Ooh. See what I said? Always rhyming.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Take care.